It is 9:34 Friday morning. Things moving fast around here today. It's what happens when you have a room full of people that are in and out, and you have to move a bunch of cameras around, but that's okay. We like involvement here at WRMN. I'm going to keep maneuvering the cameras to make them even better here in the next couple of minutes. We have just started a new YouTube feed for this show. It's a senior community spotlight show. We don't have a lot of time today, so we have a lot to squeeze in. Stevie T is here to squeeze. Hi, Steve.
Hi, Marky B, and hi, everybody, and happy Friday. I hope everyone had a good week out there. Well, Mark, the weather's changing. Now we're starting to feel it, and I just didn't. I left a rug out that I was cleaning on the cement in front of my driveway. Well, it's got to get some more shampoo now.
Got wet.
Got rained on. Yep, got rained on. So we got a big day in Elgin today. Big day. Big day. Groundbreaking for the new huge sports complex.
Yes.
What do you think about that?
Well, it's exciting. I hope it offers everything that most people want once it's finished with. $21 million, you would think you can get a lot out of $21 million.
Well,
I hope that's the case.
So. I think so, and the expectations are, for people to know, it's not, the expectations include tournaments that will bring a lot of outsiders. And, of course, the adding the entryway to Route 31.
I think that's big.
A giant difference.
Yeah. I think that's a big thing.
It's tough when you're everyone has to exit there at McLean Boulevard. Mm-hmm. And when they have a couple events going on at once now with the fields that they do have, and then they got baseball there, and they got the golf course there, and the restaurant. I mean, it can be a very challenging entry and exit.
Yeah.
But a lot happening there, and that's going to really be a big thing. You'll be hearing a lot about it in the news.
Well, I'll be out there at 11 o'clock. You will be too. And then later this afternoon, Maria Compata is going to be on with Dean in his new show, Dino's Night Out, in the 2 o'clock hour this afternoon to talk about everything that's going in, I guess, at the softball complex, as I call it.
Well, Maria's the one. And,
yeah.
So we're lucky to have her at the helm. And I hope that Elgin residents are understanding that this is a lot of planning, a lot of a discussion, and we're all very hopeful, but we believe in the project. So I'm excited to be.
Well, a lot of it is, it seems like there's a big emphasis on these soccer fields, right?
Soccer is just incredibly booming and growing, and there just aren't enough spaces already, not even close, to fuel Elgin, let alone when we build this to the state of the art that it's going to be and the size, and 3 huge new fields, it's going to bring in outside events. And that's the plan and the hope and the goal and the expectation.
Yeah. Well, I hope those are all the right choices, because there's so many things you could put into a complex like that.
You bet.
You know?
Oh, no doubt.
Pickleball, and there's ice skating, and there's all kinds of things you could. I guess you can't squeeze everything in there, and you have to make the decisions you think are going to be the most popular for the most people.
You bet.
Yeah.
So this past Saturday, Centro had a wonderful gala at the Q Center in St. Charles, and kind of thought maybe you'd be there, Mark. You know Diana and all the team, so I have to cohort you to come next year.
Yeah. I
mean, it was the who's who of Elgin. I think I counted 25, quote, dignitaries, from senators to state representatives to council people, and candidates.
Right.
Trustees.
Yeah. It's an election year.
Oh, yes. But
it's an election year.
Yeah. So I think there were certainly, there were the candidate part, they were there, but I mean, it was board members, the Kane County board members, loads of them were there. And it was quite the event and a wonderful time and a huge success for Centro.
Yeah. I heard they raised a lot of money.
They raised a lot.
Yeah.
They're very, very happy. Well, let's move on with the talk for today. And listeners, as you know, I always start with a week's dedication, most often a memorial, but sometimes to a living person or even places or an event. But today I start my dedication with a memorial, and indeed a memorial of a friend. Mark's going to recognize the name, although I don't think he knew this particular gentleman. John G. Turnquist. John left us a couple weeks ago at the age of 73 after a short battle with pancreatic cancer. He was born June 21st, 1951 in Elgin to Ralph and Frances Turnquist. John lived his entire life here. He was a career truck driver. He was a member of the Elgin Owls Club for over 40 years, where he spent many evenings and weekends sitting at the bar with his good friend Hammer. Together they agreed and argued about sports on the many TVs and the goings-on in the world. Everyone at the club knew when John was there, for he was not a quiet guy. He was also a daily regular at Willie and Grace's Diner with his newspaper and his coffee. Yes, every morning they were open, John was there. He was a much quieter guy at the diner, though, however, than at the Owls Club.
It was early in the morning.
Yes. At the Owls Club, he was known to get fish fry to go, and 2 hours later, it was still sitting there in the styrofoam container.
Really?
It's just amazing. Well, he was quite the character, I'll tell you that, and he had quite the vocabulary. Once again, being loud, everyone knew it.
Well, his vocabulary was immense, like Jerry Turnquist's, huh?
A little different than Jerry.
Different.
He used a lot of different words than Jerry uses.
Gotcha.
If you get my drift.
I do.
Well, you know, it's funny how life is. Just 2 to 3 months ago, John was enjoying life when the diagnosis came, and he faded away so quickly. Very sad. John was indeed a character, and he will be missed at his local establishments by all friends and family. John leaves behind his son Matthew, 3 grandchildren, and his brother Jerry, whom is a very familiar voice here on Wrmn.
Yep.
John was preceded in death by his parents, Ralph and Frances, and of note, Ralph was on the Elgin High golf team with my late father. Also preceding John in death was his wife, Linda, and his son, Philip. Services were a couple weeks ago at Laird. Yes, John is gone now, but he will be remembered by many. In fact, his bar stool next to his friend at the Owls is notably and sadly empty. Goodbye, John. May he rest in peace. So that's, it was a tough one because, like I said, about 2.5 months ago.
He was fine?
He was fine as he thought and everyone else thought.
Yeah.
Now, he might have been feeling some discomfort, but he hadn't shared it. But they certainly didn't feel it notably prior to that.
Yeah.
Of enough concern to be checked out. But I've heard that from so many different ones, including a surgeon that gave a talk once to the Wrmn Men's Health Group, that pancreatic cancer, you just, oftentimes when you get a sign, by the time you get a sign, it's way too late.
And also, I mean, I have no idea in his particular case, but men in general, a lot of men in general will not, they'll hold out. When they start to have some sort of issue, they just adapt to it.
Yes.
Well, I guess I'm getting older. And so you adapt to your latest issue and you just learn to live with it. Mm-hmm. And so by the time you find out you got a problem, sometimes it's too late. You know?
Exactly true.
Yeah.
Yes. And I do, you know, a lot of times it's human nature that it's not just guys too. A lot of women are that way, and they'll procrastinate and they'll think that they'll put something off, or even worse, I've heard them say, well, I'm afraid of the diagnosis.
Yeah.
Well, if you're afraid of it, when are you going to address it? Definitely when it's too late.
Yeah.
You might be able to do something now.
Yeah.
And that's the case many times.
I can understand being afraid of it, though. I mean,
Yep. Oh, no doubt.
you want to keep on living your normal life, and as soon as you find the diagnosis out, and you got to adapt to this or adapt to that, and people start to know you have that or whatever, you get looked at maybe a little bit differently, and you don't look at yourself the same way either. Sometimes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sure. Why me? Why me?
Yeah.
Well, let's move on to happier things. And I'm looking across the street, and I see a gang already outside the new Crepe Stop and Dip.
Mm-hmm.
The Stop and Dip. I saw that it was featured on the front page of the Courier today. A nice big picture, and had the owner of the building and the owner of the shop, and it was kind of interesting that the Mediterranean business, he had so many people commenting on his desserts that's how this started.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't really know they were related, the two businesses.
Well, they're related in a connection way.
Yeah.
In a connection way. So obviously they're related by landlord or ownership,
right?
Building wise, but it did appear that it's a different man that actually owns that business, working in conjunction with the neighbor.
Looks like a lot of people are about to taste it.
I know it. I'm amazed at that. I'm not sure. The sign says open.
Yeah,
but there's a gang of anxious people out front waiting for a early morning gelato.
Everybody just raised their hand.
Or crepe. Yeah, when they're raising their hands for something. I don't know. Now there's more showing up. Oh, my goodness. There's a gang out there. Well, folks, you got to give it a try, I guess. My wife is a huge gelato fan. And it's just slightly different than ice cream. And I saw in the paper, the article, someone did a taste test and they tasted coffee flavored. Well, that's my favorite flavor of ice cream. Coffee.
Really?
And so it sparked me right away. I just got to try it. So I'll give you a report soon, Mark.
Okay.
From my experience.
Sounds good. Yeah. I'm glad they're open, and another open business here in downtown Elgin, and I hope they do well. Now they have the open sign out there. For a little while, it looked like, man, it's going to be hard to know that they're there because they don't have much displaying that they are. But now they have the open sign and the actual pictures of the treats on the windows, so there's no doubt.
Well, they had Jennifer Furcala led the grand opening Wednesday.
Yeah.
And so the ribbon cutting, and they are ready. Maybe they can only allow so many in at a time. I think that must have been the case, considering how many people were out there. Because now it looks like some of them went in. That must have been the ones that had their hands up first.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's move on here. You know, folks, we got some people out there struggling with their health. And leading the way is our dear friend George, and he had to have another procedure this week, a tough one in Chicago. So we took care of little Louie. Little Louie visited us for a day and a half or a night, and we love little Louie. He wanders around. He knows the place. He knows. It's so funny how dogs are. He comes in the house. He checks out where I am. He checks out where Peach is. And then he goes right to the toy basket and gets out one of the dog's toys, whether it's George's. And he gets it out for a little while, and then he goes and gets another one out.
Yeah.
And it's like he's tired of one. He doesn't put them away, though.
He doesn't? Oh, he doesn't?
No,
he clean up after himself?
No, he leaves them laying around. And he knows where certain little areas are, and settees and pillows. And all of a sudden, where's Louie? Where's Louie? And he's hard of hearing, so we got to go find him. And there he is. We know where he's taking a nap. He might be upstairs in my recliner or somewhere. He's got a few spots that he likes, but it's pretty fun. Well, speaking of George, George, I just wanted you to know that everybody's thinking of you all the time, and I hope you're doing better, and we're pulling for you. So keep that smile going. He sounds great when he calls in. Still, heart goes out to Arnie for his brother Ernie, really struggling and on hospice now. Cindy's still struggling a little bit out west, but her critters are keeping her happy. Good news for my neighbor and dear friend Lynn Fick. Another surgery and a back brace for compression on another cracked vertebrae discovered. But hopefully she might be able to come home next week. So that's the latest report. and we're sure hoping so. And then just a shout out to my dear friend Ken Barnhart. His wife Jerry is on the mend, and I'll get the latest update tomorrow morning at breakfast. And then one more, and we're on the dog topic, and I've got good friends that live down the street, Mark. You hear me say hi to Terry and Dana. Friends and neighbors, Terry and Dana. They have a dog named George. They also have a dog named Gus. And they walk the two together all the time. Well, evidently Gus ate something while it was out, somehow ate some poison.
Really?
And so they got it to the vet. They did everything they could all night long. Terry was at the vet. And now it's going to be touch and go for 48 hours. So keep the little dog Gus in your thoughts and prayers, and hopefully he can pull through and extend happiness for Terry and Dana, as Terry and Dana are giving him a wonderful life. So we're thinking of you. And next is, I want to thank Anna Lally for all the work she does, and great to see her folks in here, her good workers.
Quite the crew.
Yes.
In here this morning, yeah.
I tell you, you were playing musical chairs.
And cameras. And microphones.
And cameras and microphones.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've got a big deal last Friday after the show, Mark, was Mo and Chris's last night in the kitchen at the American Legion.
Yeah, glad you mentioned that.
And for so many years, and especially Mo, because she's been there since she was a little kid, since she was a baby, because her grandma was the fixture. Her grandma was the cook there for years and years. I don't remember how many, but I think 40, if you can believe that.
Wow.
And her name was Inga. Yes, she was a good old German woman.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's her homemade spaghetti sauce recipe. It's her homemade macaroni and cheese, certain things that they cook. I mean, it was all Inga's doing. And the gelato crowd is moving on. Wow, that's quite a group.
No wonder everybody couldn't get in.
My goodness.
Yeah.
It looks like a field trip.
That's what it looks like. Morning field trip downtown Elgin.
Oh. Well, we'll move on, and I want to talk about how fortunate Elgin is to have senior services. And senior services, of course, they recently had a gala over at the at the Heritage Ballroom, and I had to work that night. I was unable to attend it.
Yeah.
I'm such a supporter of the senior services. Can you tell us a little bit how that went?
It went really well. We had a lot of baskets, 41 different baskets were auctioned off, and we kind of co-hosted it, myself and Danny Flores from the Elgin Police Department. So had a lot of fun, a lot of dancing, a lot of money raised, and I think it was very successful.
Great.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Well, glad for that. But on a sad note, have to bring that in. Last week, Minnie lost her brother. So just want to let everybody know that. She was out for a couple days. And if you see Minnie, if you know Minnie, give her a jingle and please express your sympathy. She's lost some family members in the last few years, and she's had a tough one. So hearts go out to you, Minnie.
Yep.
Thank you for all you do. Next is, as I mentioned, senior services, of course, we're so lucky to have them because of all the services they provide, and that's exactly why that's their name. It's interesting, somebody mentioned the AID site, you know, when you hear that commercial all the time from Lori Baker. But basically that site there with that little bitty ranch home that's where senior services started.
Yeah.
In 1973. So pretty amazing, all these years and all that they've done. And now all the property from across the way of the Elgin Mental Health Center to the property on their north of there where the buildings were and the back end of the existing sports complex, now all that's going to get developed. There's still more property, so there's still expansion capabilities.
Good.
Back there.
Yeah.
But right now it's pretty amazing to see all this growth.
Yep. Good to see, for sure.
Good to see.
Yeah.
Hey, listeners, make sure you are connected to Sherry Senior Showcase. That's on the third Tuesday right here on WRMN, and that's at 9:05 now. 9:05 through the wonderful scheduling of the new management team here and Marky B at the production helm. Now, Sherry Senior Showcase and Elgin Time Radio both come on at 9:05 instead of 9:15. We got 10 more minutes to showcase our subject matter.
Yeah.
And that is appreciative, and I know Sherry's glad about it. And certainly, you know, who's most glad is all the listeners. So thank you, Mark.
Well, thanks. Who you got Tuesday, do you know?
This Tuesday is going to be Jerry Turnquist.
That's okay,
and
good.
We're going to be talking about Elgin Time this Tuesday at 9:05. Elgin schools that are no longer. Well, there's a lot of schools that used to be, but we're also going to talk about a couple schools that are still here, but now they've been slated to be closing and sadly even demolished. Two of them are schools I attended, so that's always a sad thing.
Yeah.
And that's Washington Grade School at the top of the hill there on West Chicago Street. So that's West Chicago Street. If you go past the Dairy Queen, the fire station, Mel's Pizza, where Herb's Glass was.
The other side of the street.
1 block west of where Herb's Glass was, which is Union Street. You go up the hill to Wilcox. Wilcox only goes south there.
Yeah.
And that street borders Washington School. Washington School is bordered by Chicago Street, Wilcox, Van Street, and Mallory. And Washington School, boy, it's been open, I don't know the year, but since the 1800s.
Yeah.
And
going to be demolished?
yeah, well, that's the what I understand. That's what I understand. And then just a few blocks away down Van Street, Abbott Junior High. Of course, that's what I call it. But now it's Abbott Middle School. And that's also slated for a demise. Who knows what's going to go in those spots?
Yeah.
Who knows what the future will be? I can only imagine 10 years from now what will be on those lots. But we're moving on. Well, we've got only about one more minute here on the show. So I just wanted to let everybody know the Elgin Public Museum's got a big fundraiser coming up. Elgin History Museum is great. Elgin Public Museum is great. Please visit them. And in this case, listen and learn about the Elgin Public Museum event over at the Heritage Ballroom and help First Shift Sherry and her dream, as well as so many others here in Elgin.
And that's
the
tomorrow. A week from tomorrow.
A week from tomorrow.
Yep.
Yeah. And I just, a couple other things. Anderson Humane, don't forget all they offer. Pet food, we could still use that. The American Legion, having wonderful meals there for everybody. They're going to be opened more hours now than ever. And finally, we'll just finish with a few fish fries. Don't forget the Turners. Don't forget Eagles. And, of course, Paul's and Elgin Public House. I think that probably puts us at the end here, Mark.
We got about a minute or so.
We got about a minute.
Yep.
Let's see what I can get in there. Don't forget to take advantage of WRMN's shopping show, still active.
Right. Shop online at WRMN1410.com. And the Redemption Center is open Saturday mornings from 9 until noon.
9 to noon. You can come in and take a look at a list and see what they have.
Sure.
And see the incredible prices. Still great opportunities. Yes, someone told me the other day, you know, I used to do that. I haven't shopped in 10 years, I bet. I wonder if my key tag's still good. I said, you bet it is.
Sure.
Well, listeners, remember, thank a policeman every day, thank a fireman every day, and certainly thank a veteran every day. If you see someone in a grocery store with a veteran hat on, tap them on the shoulder and say, thank you for your service. You'll see a smile. Keep listening to WRMN and tell your friends as well. They're getting stronger and better all the time. Well, that's about it for today. Marky B, thanks for everything. and I hope that we have a great show. No music memories today due to some scheduling conflicts, but I'll be back next week with some cool music memories, 75 years of WRMN on the air. That brings us to a close of another Community Spotlight show. Marky B, I wish you and all the listeners a peach of a day and a peach of a weekend.
Thanks, Steve. All right, coming up next is Matt. He's got Out to Lunch. Keep it right here on WRMN. Have a great weekend.
Your hometown radio station since